right, the bottom line continues, and that is exactly what we seek tonight. The ultimate bottom line for every Kenyan in the persisting threat of terrorism and the fight against it. And tonight, true to our tradition here at KTN, we're daring to start this tough but necessary conversation, bringing together all sides in this sensitive subject that has left victims on both sides. It is only when we face the facts that we can begin to win this battle. That's the bottom line. Can we get to a common place, dissect the matter, and identify the real enemy? That's what we seek to do tonight. And you are very much a part of this conversation. Talk to us on Twitter. Our hashtag tonight is at KTN. Hashtag tonight rather is KTN bottom line. Our SMS number remains as always in studio. And of course, in just a few minutes, I will be speaking to Shamim Alu. She is a survivor of the Westgate siege in just a few minutes. But for now, let me cross over to the coastal region. That is in Mombasa, exactly at Jubilee Hall, where my team, my colleagues rather, are holed up, and they're interesting. They will be having a very interesting conversation in just a few minutes. Thank you very much, Linda Ogutu, and we'll be back to you for just a moment to have a conversation and to carry on with that. We carry on with our conversation right now in Kiswahili, and we remain, sorry, in English. We remain with our panel, and we also will be speaking with, of course, our members of the audience who are with us here at the Jubilee Hall. John Allen is, of course, down on the floor. John?
Yvonne, now, the issue here that we're going to try and discuss right now is the issue of justice. Justice on one hand and justice on the other hand. There are people who feel that there are more victims than the other, and that seems to be playing up with the public in different sectors of the public. They think that perhaps one sector of victims is more of a victim than the other. Before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to a small story. The disappearance of someone whose brother and relatives are here with us. The disappearance of Hemedi. Hemedi, as you will know and as you will remember, during the riot and the fracas that happened at the Masjid Musa, now called Masjid Shuhuda, was arrested by the police. To date, he cannot be found, and that is a case that is still in court. However, we have his brother here, and we'll be speaking to him shortly, ladies and gentlemen. First, though, we'll take that story and listen to what's going on in the life of the family of Hemedi.
In a towering residence deep in the Mikindani area of Mombasa, a family is in a somber mood. Sada Juma recalls that her husband, Hamed Salim Hamed, left this house on the morning of 2nd February, never to return. As far as she is concerned, her husband had left for his daily work as a mechanic.
Tangu nilipotoka nyumbani, sikumuona, nikaja kumuona tu kwa TV. Na sikujua nini imetokea basi.
It then began a frantic search for Hamed, according to the family, from police stations to hospitals, to morgues, and wherever they went, they met a brick wall.
Mara kwanza alisema hajashika mtu kama huyo. Ndio tukasema kwamba tumemwona huyo mtu katika TV, inakuwa vipi mnasema mjeshika mtu kama huyo?
This is the last known footage of Hamed being hauled out of Masjid Musa on a day police raided the mosque to disrupt a reported radicalization convention. A policeman was seriously injured and an AK-47 rifle recovered, which police can be heard claiming Hamed was in possession of. The policeman later died. Police denied arresting the suspect until this footage was shown in court, after which they admitted arresting him, but have since claimed he ran away. The matter is pending determination before court. It's been nearly 4 months since Hamed was last seen alive, and the circumstances behind his disappearance is now a subject of a court process. The family, though, remains hopeful that one day he will still be able to walk back into this house to be welcomed alive and with relief. Not only has the family had to contend with the missing father and brother, they say they remain bothered by the allegations pasted on him by police.
Hajawahi kushikwa, hajawahi kuhusiana na kesi yoyote ya criminal, na hajawahi kushikwa kwa njia yoyote ile. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi sema kwa yeye alihusika kufanya kitendo kama kile.
Hamed's story is one of many that has left a bitter taste in the mouth, not just for the family, but the larger Muslim community in Mombasa. The raid itself was roundly condemned, while Hamed's disappearance, the court case notwithstanding, has left a significant cross-section of local communities wondering whether the police are responsible and balanced in the war against terror.
Ikiwa ni upande wa ugaidi, wao watafute magaidi wasirukie watu kushika mtu yoyote ule, kwa sababu wao ni watu wamekuwa trend na wanajua wanafanya nini. Kwa hiyo watafute hao magaidi, washike magaidi.
Hakuna kitu chenye nafikiri mimi, chenye nilikuwa nataka kujua tu yuko wapi basi.
There is another storyline reportedly from a former inmate at Manyani Maximum Prison in Taita Taveta, who allegedly suggested that he saw a battered man brought into Manyani days after the mosque raid, who later introduced himself as a Hamed from Mombasa. The family says attempts to verify that information have been fruitless, as they have never been able to get in touch with the said ex-inmate. It is an agonizing wait for closure, one which Hamed's family hope will reunite them again. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.
An agonizing wait indeed, and the story of Hamedi is one that we've told at KTN a number of times, as well as with other stories intertwined in this war on terror. I'll now speak to Hamedi's brother. Since seeing those pictures, ukiyaona sahi, nadhani ya kwamba yanakukera, they make you angry, but what do you expect from the government right now to, in terms of telling you where your brother is?
Kulingana na vile ninavyoziona hizi picha ndio kweli zinatia uchungu, lakini kama nilivyokuwa nimejaribu mara ya kwanza kujaribu kupeleka kotini, ile kwenda kotini ni kwenda kupata uhakikisho kama angelikuwa yuko wangelimproduce pale kotini. Hata kama angelikuwa amekufa, ingelikuwa maiti yake pengine ilionekana mahali fulani. Hiyo ndio muhimu ya kwenda pale kotini, lakini mpaka imefikia mahali sasa ni judgment. Hiyo inamaanisha wazi kwa huyu mtu hayupo. Sasa swali ni kuwa katika huu mjadala mimi leo umenifurahisha sana, kwa sababu swali langu mimi ndio swali ambalo liko hapa sasa hivi. Ikiwa Hamedi alishikwa kama ni suspect, kwa nini hatujamuona tena na alishikwa na polisi? Sasa kama yeye alikuwa ameshikwa kama ni mshukiwa wa ugaidi, sasa hivi hatumuone, tuseme kwa mfano kama amekufa, itakuwa yeye ndio alikuwa ni gaidi ama aliyekuwa amemshika yeye ndio gaidi? Gaidi ni nani?
Swali kuu. It's a very important question. Who is a terrorist? And the issue of justice here is one that we're also trying to unpack over here, because it's also not just on the side of the family of Hamedi, but there are also people who suffered in the Likoni church attack. Remember how the attack unfolded. There were a number of shooters who came in, walked out and melted into the crowd. Among the people who suffered here is Diana Malobo, and her husband Augustine is here today. What would you want to tell the government, the people who are investigating this, even after hearing what happened with Hamedi and his disappearance, the disappearance also of the people who perpetrated the attack and left your wife injured? Unaweza jibu kwa Kiswahili, bado tutaelewana, lakini tueleze, what would you want to tell the government about that situation in terms of investigating, because there also is an issue of justice, Augustine?
Asante sana KTN kwa swala kuu siku ya leo. Tunashukuru sana kama wakazi wa Mombasa. Na hili swala la security limekuwa ni changamoto sana kwetu sisi kule mitaani, hata serikali yenyewe kwa ujumla. Ni kama confusion imeingia hata ndani ya serikali na sisi pia wananchi. Hata imefika pia mpaka maskari pia hawaelewi. Manake inatakana kwanza swala nzima la security ninaposema ninaanza na ule askari. Askari awe rafiki wa mwananchi kama mfumo wa Tanzania. Lakini kama askari pengine unashuku mtu na uende uelezea askari, sasa askari huyo naye tena ndiye anaanza kukuharas kwamba unamjua vizuri, unajua penye anatokea and so forth. Sasa wananchi wanaogopa kuelezea wale maskari kwamba tunashuku mtu fulani mahali fulani. There are some they used to see some other individuals in a situation like that, lakini wanaogopa kuelezea government.
Hebu turudi nyuma kwanza. Please tell us what happened to your wife Diana. Na Diana pia unaweza kutueleza nini ilifanyika wakati hawa magaidi waliingia kanisani. Utueleze na pia pengine unaweza kutuonyesha pia uliathirika wapi.
Asante sana. Kwangu mimi naweza nikaelezea kwamba wale magaidi walivyoingia pale kanisani, sikujua vile nilipigwa risasi. Nilijipata tu niko nje. Na baada ya hapo mtoto wangu ndo alianza kunielezea. Akaniambia, mama, hautakufa. Baada hapo alipoenda kutafuta usaidizi, mimi nilipoteza fahamu, nilijipata niko hospitalini. Na sikujua watu wenyewe, sikuwaona wala sikujua ni wangapi. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba serikali itusaidie, maana mimi nilipigwa risasi 3.
Pengine unaweza kutuonyesha ni wapi ulipigwa risasi? Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I'm sure you can't see this, but she's been shot a number of times in her arm as well as in her leg. The question of justice is one that's very important. Ushasikia kutoka upande wa Hemedi na pia upande wa Diana. But the thing that perhaps we'd like to stress here is that justice is for everybody. Both the people who suffered in Likoni as well as the people who suffered with the disappearance of Hemedi. There still is a gap. Na naona ya kwamba they both understand this. That is something that perhaps in the way forward we'd need to discuss about. And Yvonne, maybe we can go to our panel over here and speak about that question. There is commonality in the pain that you can see with Diana. There is commonality in the pain that you can see with the family of Hemedi, or indeed with the family of a controversial person, nonetheless, Abu Bakr Sharif. There is that pain. How are we able to be able to be able to build bridges between these people and make them understand that they are not enemies on either side of a fight? They are just victims. Yvonne.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that, and a moving tale from Diana Malobo that we've heard there. I'd like to start with you, Alamin Kimathi. When you take a look at their stories, they're quite similar. At what point do we find a commonality, a unity, towards then moving forward from the tales that we've heard here just now?
We will find a commonality when we deal with issues without invoking an us and them situation. The moment we realize that the problem is our problem as a nation, and therefore the solutions should be our solutions as a nation, we will start now striking a commonality. And we can only strike this when we try and uphold the values that need to bring us together as a nation, the values that have brought us this far, which to our minds now, this conflict, or whatever is coming up, is those values have been disintegrated.
Right.
The moment we revisit them and try to uphold them, then we'll start moving together.
Okay.
One thing that we've lost the values that everybody preaches, the values of love. We've lost the values that also go into the nation making. What holds this nation together? The constitution of the country.
And those values are the ones that are shared both by the families of Malobo and Hemedi.
Across the board.
Let's talk about justice for just a moment. Maybe Zubair, we can bring you in on this one, because Augustine's family, and he said, giving information to the police and they're fearful of that. On the other hand, Hemedi's family saying, where is our son? How important is it for justice not just to be done, but to be seen to be done? But do you think justice is the one thing that will bring healing to both these families?
I think justice is one component of respecting the rule of law. But I think as a community, as a nation, there has to be harmonization. There has to be love and peaceful coexistence. I think that's the key thing. We know in Kenya there are so many tribes who have got different characteristics, and we live with them. We know there's some tribes, they're not to be thieves. but we appreciate, we live with them. We know there's some tribes who are educated, are very hardworking, and we live together. But I think most important here is we as a nation, we must respect one another and value one another, our traditions, our values, our different nations, different tribes, and different areas. I think that's the key thing.
All right, allow me to stop you there. And we're talking about values, and we will come to this conversation, so hold that thought, because I think we need to absolutely find a point of commonality between these two families and how they can move forward, even as we discuss this fight against terrorism. But I want to take you, of course, back to Linda Ogutu, who's in our studios in Nairobi, and she has another moving tale. If you thought you've heard some moving tales from some of our victims here and some of our survivors, well, there's another one that's even more moving, and that's a survivor of the Westgate attack. And of course, Linda Ogutu will have all those details for you in just a moment. Linda, over to you.
Indeed, Yvonne, we'll be having that discussion in a few minutes. We will be speaking to Shamim Alu. She's a survivor of the Westgate attack. And I've just been listening to the discussion you have been having in the coastal region, and it reminds me of something that someone once said: this is our country, this are our people, and that makes this our problem. That is why on KTN tonight we are having this discussion. We're taking a short break, but just before we do that, I'd like Shamim Alu to just walk into the studio, and as she walks in, you will realize that she is on crutches. And she's on crutches because of that Westgate attack. I'm hoping she can walk into the studio just right now. Shamim, come. All right, so Shamim is a survivor of the Westgate attack that happened on September 21st, 2013, and she survived a couple of bullets, and we will be listening to her story in just a few minutes. Stay with KTN.